Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome to the Messengers in Our Home. Dear Kardec Radio listeners, welcome back to the Messengers in Our Home. Tonight with a special program because, as you know, we finished the study of each chapter of the book last week, and now I have the pleasure to be together again, live, so to speak, with Mackenzie Mello. And we're going to discuss... That's you, right? Hello, Mackenzie.
Good morning, Francis. No, we're in such a different... what is it? The time zone that you never know. I never know what time is it where you are.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, it's nearly noon here, and it's early in the morning for you. So thank you for getting up and making it happen to be with me. As we know how difficult that has been in the past. But anyways, we are here to discuss, to give like a summary of the different chapters, because we've been studying for a year now the book Messengers, and obviously there's so many great teachings in it that we just want to summarize for all of you so that we have like the nuggets, or some of them at least, closer at hand whenever we need a little bit of a booster. We can just listen to this program and maybe then go on to deeper reading or studying once again for a different chapter that might be important at that point for us. But before we do that, Mackenzie, could you tell us, please, how the experience has been for you? Because you've been making all the comments, and you've been studying a lot. So how was the year with the Messengers in Our Home for you?
It's been great. I mean, I've read this book maybe once or twice before, and but I never had the chance to really go into deep detail in studying. And it is really amazing when we stop to think one chapter at a time and just go over some details and some of the experiences that these spirits are living. It is amazing to see how their experiences can really be what we are living at that specific moment. For example, I'm going to remember something that just happened a few weeks ago when we were studying chapter 47, for example. And on chapter 47, they talk about a meeting at a spiritist center, but not how we, the incarnate ones, see those meetings, but what the spirits that are helping that meeting to occur, to be able to be there, how they see that meeting happening, and what they see in us who are there physically working, or sometimes just sitting down and watching. So it is amazing to remember these things and to be able to see what we live if we are going to a spiritist center, or for that matter to a church or to a temple, to see that there are spirits working all the time together with us to help us learn, to help us progress, to help us understand the teachings, and what is our part on that work as well. And I'm remembering this because we always discuss, or we always talk at the spiritist center, what if I am sleeping, let's say, while watching a talk, and then Andrea Luiz talks about that. What if I am the one giving the talk? Is there a spirit helping me? And then Andrea Luiz talks about that. So it is really, really reassuring to see that. But also, it demands a lot of us, because once we have that knowledge, we start to think, oh, now I have to pay even more attention. And it is not a burden, but it is something that from then on, when we really understand this, we really see this from another spirit's perspective, we could say that, we can clearly see how difficult it is, but how rewarding it is once we can do and once we can really learn and practice what they're talking about. So this experience has been great, as it was with No Solar, as it was with Jesus in Home, the two previous books that we had. With the messengers, it is as if every week we really had these messengers in our home, as we call our program.
Yeah, that's right, Mackenzie. And I think you made a very important point as well, because what I find most amazing is that, how can I say, it sounds a bit strange, but how useful this book is, because sometimes you think, oh, the messengers, and André Louis talks about the life in the spirit world, and it can seem a bit far off, especially if you don't have ostensive mediumistic abilities and you don't see spirits and you don't see what's going on in the spiritual world, which I guess most of us don't have. We have more like a subtle mediumship in the sense of that we feel the intuition, like when we go to the spiritual center, we feel the good energy, we feel recharged, or when we read the book or doing the programs, we feel the inspiration of some things that come to our minds that think, oh, that's a clever thing to say, but actually, we got a little help from the messengers there as well. And also because it's so close to us. Like you mentioned, when we go to a spiritual center, when we get sleepy, it's not the plain material experience, which obviously it never is because you're on a spiritual center. But for many can seem like one of the guys whose name I forgot now, who was doubting a lot, and who was talking to the instructor, the incarnate instructor in Donna Isabel's home, who was doubting a lot about the teachings, because he said, well, I want hard proof for all of this to be true. But like you said, the messengers have been accompanying us week by week and giving us inspiration, giving us hope, giving us consolation, clarifying a lot of doubts, even if we have been studying a while and hopefully at least trying to practice what we've studied as well. But there's just so much to learn, and maybe to just have a quick recap like you mentioned now as well. So The Messengers is the second book in the series of André Louis, talking about the life in the spirit world. And whereas No Solar was describing us what happened after André Louis discarnated and how he arrived, so to speak, in the spirit world, what experience he had, how he was rescued to No Solar, which is the spirit city or colony, and everything he learned. He described to us how life goes on for us as well after our physical body dies. And in The Messengers, it's like the second learning step. So he got there, he learned a lot, but now he continues his learning experience. And the book is divided into three main parts, having the first part from chapter 1 to 13, talking about the testimonials of the mediums who are discarnate, describing how they failed, but not only how they failed on their last life on earth, but how much of a preparation they got before they incarnated. And the second part then talks about how we incarnates and the discarnates are helped by the team of the messengers of the colony No Solar, because they are connected there. And the third part is what we're just finished a little while ago, where André Louis goes on this internship, so to speak. On their way to Earth, they make a stop in the 8th station, where André Louis learns how other scenarios can be in the spirit world as well, because obviously No Solar, the colony of No Solar, is only one example that exists, but there are many, many different cities and environments that we can imagine, depending how our level of evolution is. And then the last part, which is included in part 3 as well, from chapter 33 till 51, is the whole experience where they are helping Donna Isabel and the other spirits who have this little nuclei, who are doing the God at Home worship in their house, and they're having like a little spiritual center as well where they held public meetings. And he helps us, or he shows us how the messengers are always there to help us. Right, Mackenzie?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Francisca. It is interesting how in No Solar, we can probably see two different parts, and the second part of the book is more or less basically 4 chapters at the end of the book. But in the Messengers, we see these three different parts. Although what I think it is interesting is we took a year to read this book, or more than a year, right? 52 weeks. But it's basically just a week of service, and I keep really it amazes me all the time when I think about this, because if we can study a book in a year about a week of service of these spirits, can we imagine how far we are from learning everything that is? And it's interesting as well that Andres sometimes he says, well, and I can't go into detail about this right now. So imagine how much he had to, let's say, save for later. Of course, there are 16 books in this series, 13 books about life in the spirit realm, and 3 others with messages and so on. So we can imagine how much more information there is in his books, and we know that, but how many more and how much more information there is was not even written by him. And that's why the production keeps coming from mediums like Divaldo, if we're talking about Brazilian mediums. But I'm pretty sure that there are many other mediums, even if not spiritists per se, but they are connected to these good spirits, and how many good messages and good information they are still bringing to us. So the Messengers is this, like Francisca said, divided in 3 parts. The very beginning, that's the part that we are going to mainly focus on this first meeting, that we're talking about finalizing the study of the Messengers. We're going to divide this week, next week, and the week after, 3 weeks. We're going to talk about these 3 parts separately, so that we have this main and big summary of the Messengers, so that maybe one day, if you want to go back and come back to study it all, maybe you start from these 3 last, quote unquote here, programs, and then you go back and listen to all 52 chapters, including the introduction by Emmanuel, which is always wonderful as a main summary of the whole book. But it has so many teachings and so many things to learn from that very small, very brief introduction of this book, The Messengers.
Yeah, and it goes to show that, well, how much we have to learn, basically, right? And just a quick reminder for us as well that this book has been first published in Portuguese in its original version in 1944. We are in 2016 now, which means about 72 years later. And it's amazing how much of the knowledge we haven't practiced yet, actually. And how, due to the difficulties, the differences in language as well, not everyone has access to this information in that sense. But as you mentioned, there are other books as well from other mediums. There are other spiritual people out there who are giving messages or
bringing new messages, right? And what to that point that you just mentioned, Francisca, yesterday I was checking our social networks, and I found this post from a good friend of ours, lives in New York, Jussara Korngold. You may have heard her talk here sometimes at Kardec Radio, maybe in one interview or another with Vanessa. She is a long-time spiritist. She translates books from other languages into English so that we can keep spreading the word of Spiritism. And she posted a message that's very interesting, saying that so many years later, medicine are starting to catch up with some of the knowledge that Andre Luiz brought in the 1940s and the 1950s. And that reminded me of one of the last chapters of this book that we are studying, when Aniceto, right, he opens up Andre Luiz's mind through a magnetic operation there, and then Andre Luiz is able to look at the body, but he doesn't see the body. He sees much more than the body. And it is very interesting because when Andre is describing, I was thinking, well, these days we have all these machines, right? We have all these tomographies. We have these machines where you put the whole body in, and then there's a full scan of the body, and then you see all slices of the body, and you see all different things that are in the body. And in 1944, there was nothing like that. And then Andre is describing everything as if he is predicting a machine that will one day happen here on Earth. And then the machine, we have these machines these days that medicine uses to improve diagnosis, to improve our physical lives, and so on and so forth. So this whole series of Andre Luiz that we hope one day we will be able to finish studying it all. Maybe not only us, right, Francisca? Maybe some people join us to do some other books that are more specific to medicine, for example, and maybe I am not and you are not the best one to deal with some of the terminology and understanding really deeply what these medical terms are. Maybe they will, some person will come and say, hey, let's study this book here and let's take a different approach than the one that we are taking now, and then we will have maybe two different studies of the messengers, two different studies of No Solar, so that we keep learning more and more and more. So it is amazing how much information we can still find these days on these books by Andre Luiz, through Chico Xavier, and through, in other cases, through Chico and Valdo Vieira as well.
Yeah, that's true. So we can only go step by step and day by day, doing our best to assimilate the knowledge, but most importantly, to put it into practice. And I think that's why the messengers is of utmost importance as well for all of us, because it gives us so many practical tools and gives us explanations of, okay, if you do this, then the consequence is this. It's as easy as that. It's not like magic, or it's not like rocket science. It's very easy. And of course we know that it's much harder to put these things into practice than just reading about it and studying it and thinking, oh, this is beautiful in theory. Like, you know, the case you mentioned, oh, if you're really tired and you go to the spiritual center and then you doze off, right? But here we are. Every day is a new chance for us. And so now let's just get started with chapter 1, renovation.
Yeah, renovation. When we started studying this book, Francisca, it was really when I realized that that's the main topic of the whole book. It's renovation.
Well, it's renewal, actually. Sorry.
Right? We have it can call it renovation as well, but the word that they use it is renewal. So it is the main topic of the book. We can see that from time to time they will come back and talk about renewal again. They will come back and talk about renewal again. And it's not the renewal of the others, which is usually and unfortunately up to today that we still point to other people like, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't change, he is always like this, or she is always like that, she always commits the same mistakes, so on and so forth. And this book is about how am I renewing myself with the knowledge that I acquired? How am I renewing myself with the experience that I'm living, with everything that I'm learning, with everything that I'm reading, with so what do I need to do? I need to practice. And that's when Andre receives this counsel, or this, how can I say it? Somebody comes and tells him, hey, look, you have all the knowledge, right? You learned so much in this full year here in No Solar, and that's right at the beginning of the messengers, but you're still empty. And why are you still empty? Because you still didn't go out of yourself to really feel what it is to give to others. And it is interesting that the more we give, and we always hear this, the more we give, the more we get, right? The more love we give, the more love we get. So we have all this knowledge. That's what I think it's, if I remember it correctly, Francisca, maybe you can help me here. But I think it's Narcisa that tells this to him.
Yeah, I do.
Right?
Yeah.
And she tells him, you need to go out, Andre. We really need to work. So when you start working, you're gonna see all this knowledge that you got in practice, and by giving, you will receive, and then you will see that you will be a luminous vessel, but now not only luminous, but full of great feelings and great sentiments that come from high above.
Yeah, that's true. It's this transition as you described, right? From he's finishing his experience in Nosala, and now it's time for a new learning curve. And like you said, Narcisa is talking to him in chapter 1 and telling him about this possibility of going down to earth to help people there. And, like, help not only his family, but like the human family, the universal family. And she tells him to take advantage of the new course in the Ministry of Communication and to learn how to give help, both invisible or visible and invisible, to incarnates and to discarnates as well. And that's how he is actually put into contact with Aniceto in chapter 2, where he is he's getting to know Aniceto, and he is asking actually for permission by Minister Genèse. And here we see again how everything is organized in the spirit world, that it's not like by chance that he goes from A to B. No, they have the big overview and they say, okay, he's ready for the next step, and then, he gets the new chance. And he says here, I'm quoting, "Now Caesar had aroused a burning desire to work on behalf of others, and it now seemed to fill the empty vessel of my heart. Yes, I would work. I would come to know the satisfaction of those who toil anonymously for the happiness of others. I would seek the wondrous light of fraternity by serving them." And this is the key for all of us. If we want to move forward, if you're really interested in our inner renewal, our inner reform, we have to take the next step, getting away from ourselves, the people that are lost to us. Obviously, we always will help them, that's for sure. But to reach out to our brothers and sisters, fraternal love, and the way of doing it is serving, like you mentioned before. By doing good, we're doing good to ourselves first, because everything that goes out from us, first, the effect is in ourselves.
Yeah, that's how it is, right? If I'm saying something, it needs to come through my mind and then through my mouth. So I am the first one to think about it, and I am the first one to hear it, and so it will come through me. And if it's a good thought, it will. If I'm quote unquote here dirty, the clean thought will clean me a little bit before it starts cleaning the other ones outside of myself, if they choose so to. So it always starts with me. And Aniceto is very clear, right? Hey, look, you're here to serve. Remember that if you're going with us and you can come, you're willing to come, we will be here, we will help you, but just remember, you're here to serve. No one here should expect praise for a job well done, and we all answer for any errors we might commit. So Aniceto is very stern, but he is very friendly, and he is very, very helpful at all times. Of course, that right now, at the very beginning of the book, we don't know him yet. But as we move along, we will see that he is always a very good friend. He is always willing to teach, willing to help everybody that's on his way. So it's just for us to make sure that, hey, you're doing your job, we are doing our job. Let's keep moving. Don't expect people to thank you. Just do your part, because your part is to do good to others. If the others are not doing good to you, that's not up to us. It's not up to you. It's up to the others. So we keep doing our part so that we don't give up on working by expecting what other people are saying or doing to us, right? So with this, then we move to the Messenger Center. That's where they are going to learn, right, to have lectures and to talk to people, talk to spirits, so that they can learn part of what they're going to do once they go on, like you were saying, Francisca, once they move on to Earth to help the Spiritist centers, to help the incarnate spirits that are here on Earth, and also the discarnate spirits who are hanging around ourselves here on Earth as well. So at the Messenger Center, they will, not only him, not only André Luiz, because we will also meet Vicente. Well, we didn't meet him yet, but we will meet him, Vicente, that is a physician just like André, and they will study together for these hours, so that they come together here to Earth, so that they can practice what they are learning there at the Messenger Center, which is like a place in El Salar, right? There are lots of buildings, universities, all these gardens and everything, and they are together to learn. That's basically what it is. It's this place where you meet to learn, so that you know what they will do once some of them are prepared for reincarnation. Some of them are coming back from just have discarnated, and then they are back there to learn again and to review what they did and what they didn't do while incarnated. And that's, if you are following what we were saying since the beginning, that's the main topic of this first part that we're doing here on this summary of the messengers, right, Francisca?
Yeah, that's true. And I just want to come to a quick point here, because when André first came to the Messenger Center, he was really surprised and didn't quite get what this was all about. And he said, well, Messenger Center, so is this enormous organization restricted only to transmitting messages? So as if it was like a spiritual postal service, right?
It is interesting, because the messengers, we have this idea, right? Oh, this is the messengers. He will carry, or she will carry the message. Is this just for that?
Well, yeah, like the messengers did, a long time ago in history, like in old Greece and Roman Empire and everything, where the messengers were running from one place to another to give the message to someone else, right? But then, obviously, Tobias smiles and says, no, this is not, some type of postal service. The center trains spirits to become living letters of rescue and assistance to other spirits who are suffering on Earth, in the Umbral, and in other parts. And this has always been like one of my main sentences, because the messengers, as we know, are all sent from God, and everybody can be a messenger of the good here on Earth, a messenger of God. And the living letters always reminds me as well how important it is that the letters in the book as well are not to be dry and, they need to become alive. The teachings need to become alive in our hearts, so that we then are able to put them into practice in our daily lives, right?
That is true, and this is, if we remember the introduction by Emmanuel, right, when he talks about the chimpanzees and so on, it's taking these words or these concepts to a different level, right? Because we think of the message or the messenger as just the person who is carrying the message, right? But as you were saying, it is not just as if I am carrying the message with me from a different person. I am becoming the message, right? Like you say, I am the living letter. So it is as if we can think about it, right? It is as if, let's say, Jesus or a higher level spirit is using me, right, as the message, right? It is what we need to learn how to become this, and how to become these words in the message that are very, very precisely put where they need to be put, right? Otherwise, it will misrepresent the entire message, because I am a word that is not at the right place, and then the sentence will not make sense because I am not doing what I need to do. And it is very interesting to think of these messengers and the message in this way as you were describing it.
Yeah, and it's true as well for our learning that we don't learn that much by the words only. But if somebody is incorporating in that sense, is living what he believes in, like Gandhi or Mother Teresa or many others, Chico Xavier, etc., then we are much more inclined to do the same as somebody who's only preaching the theory, but we know that his moral conduct is not in accordance with what he preaches. This obviously does not mean that we're going to turn saints in a moment and that we can stop every effort because we know we're not practicing everything that we're teaching. No, but it's this conscience, it's this effort that we need to make to every day work on ourselves so that we can become those living letters that we put into practice and that our behavior exemplifies what we believe in, because then the inner transformation will really have taken place. And one example who's in a way has done that is Vicente, chapter 4. So Vicente's story, Andre gets to know him, and he was a doctor as well. He was nice and calm and generous. And they become friends and they exchange their experience. And actually, Vicente's case is quite hard in a way, because he was married, he was happy, he was working together with his wife. But at some point, his brother came into the picture and he fell in love with his wife, and his wife returned the romance. And then they decided to kill Vicente because he was in their rape. At that time, divorce wasn't allowed in Brazil, and obviously if somebody runs away with the brother of somebody else, it's not that nice. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like the best conduct, and so they kill Vicente, and he's talking about this experience, and obviously it's hard for him, but he doesn't have any desire to revenge himself. He says, my friend, evil is the mere result of ignorance and nothing more. That's a good one for us, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very powerful story, because that there's a point in this chapter where Andre says, "Oh, our stories are almost similar," and Vicente has not told that both of them, right, his wife and his brother, decided to kill him. And when Vicente says, well, not really, then he tells the story about the killing and so on. Andre then asks, right, and what about justice? And Vicente says, look, Andre, everything comes in its time, the good as well as the bad. First the seed, then the fruit. And then it is as if Vicente is saying, look, I suffered enough. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen from then on. I'm here to learn. I'm here to try to practice what we've been learning. It's been hard for me, as it is been hard for you. So let's keep moving. Let's keep learning. Let's keep practicing. And when time comes, when the seed comes out or sprouts, and then the fruit comes, let's see what the fruit is, and let's do what we need with that fruit when it comes. But as of right now, let's get ready. Let's get prepared for when that time comes. And that's basically what it is, which reminds me, Francisco, of what you were just talking about, becoming the living letters, right? Because it's not like magic, as you also pointed out. It's not like, oh, I'm reading this and then all of a sudden I'm perfect. All of a sudden everything can happen and I'll be able to handle it. It's not how it is, right? We really need to strive. We really need to put forward our efforts into learning and into really allowing these messages to sink in, so that we once again become, please forgive us, but become these living letters again. And what it is very interesting is that in this Messenger Center, we will receive instructions. We will hear like a lecture, right, from Telesforo, which will be presented to us. But what we learn, well, of course, we learn a lot from what he says, but to Wander and Vicente, what they learn more from is not necessarily from the lecture, but from the interaction with other people around them. So they will meet other spirits who had their experiences, who will tell them and naturally will tell us what they had to do, what they did and what they did not do, how they failed and how could they have not failed, what would they need to do. And with this, if we take these examples, right, these lives as if they were lives of regular people, and I should rephrase that, not as if they were regular people. They were regular people.
Yeah.
They were just like us, living our struggles, right, through daily lives with our kids, with our parents, with our husbands or wives, and living the daily life. They were just like, they are just like us. And they had their missions, and some of them failed. In this specific case here in this book, we see in the beginning of the book, in this part we're doing now, we see all these failures, but we also see a lot of good people closer to the end of the book that are really struggling, but are fulfilling what they asked to do, what they set out to do in these lives. So what do you have to add to this receive instructions here, Francisca, from Telesforo?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because sometimes it's difficult and we think, oh, they are all more advanced or they are this or that, but they are just like us. And like he mentions here, that most of the people in the auditorium were spirits who had been there before, who had received lots of instructions, lots of help, lots of learning before they incarnated, but then they failed. They weren't able to put into practice what they had promised in the spiritual realm. So they're there for the second time. Or others, like Andre Lewis, who was there for the first time, who was preparing for new trials in the corporal sphere, and we don't know when he incarnates again, but for sure, like we've learned as well, he's not like the most elevated spirit himself, so he has lots of things to learn, and he's going to come back one way or another at some point. So Telesforo is talking about the situation on Earth and how difficult it is, how human life is changing, and how the spiritist teachings have so many obstacles, I'm going to put it that way, to reach our hearts, to reach the hearts of the incarnates, just like us. And he talks about different religious, different religious teachings who preach against Spiritism, but not only from the religious point of view, also from highly educated spiritual schools, or from people who think they are wiser than others. And like you mentioned before, here's the connection again, that with material science, obviously, we are not able to prove the existence of the spiritual life, because it is beyond matter. So how can we, with matter, in matter, prove something scientifically that is beyond that? It just doesn't work. And only when we start to broaden our perspective and to allow spirituality, which has been happening actually, we know many researchers that have been doing that prove the existence of God, the communication with spirits, that it is good to do good, etc., etc. So which are validating in a way here on Earth the teachings that humanity has received by the spirits a long, long time ago. So, and that is why he's actually kind of preparing everyone for the course that they are going to attend, because He says there's lots of work to be done. We need to help humanity. And if you remember as well, you know, it was published in 1944, and just about when the Second World War finished or was about to finish. So there was really, really troubled times on Earth, and despite the years that have passed so far, we still have lots of social issues. We have wars, so we need unity, and in humankind, we need to reach out to each other, and especially to regard each other as brothers and sisters in God. And so therefore he says, well, there's so much work to be done, you know, assistance work, help on the spiritual and on the earth, or in all the other planets for that matter. So they need co-workers, and that's why they're there. So he's explaining the aim of this course that they're about to do, and also that they need help. They need help of whoever spirit is willing to help. And like you mentioned, if we prepare to come as a medium or work in a spiritual center as an instructor, we have responsibility. And it doesn't matter if it's within a spiritual center or if it's in a church or any other spiritual congregation we might choose. Because at the end of the day, it's always about service. And the service, the love to our neighbors is in all of us. Solidarity, fraternity is what brings us as humanity forward, and the world in itself as well.
Yeah, true. And then we get to the continuation of what he is talking about, and you were just talking about the work after the war and so on and so forth. And so this is a more general message, right, for all of us who are maybe thinking about the worries of the entire world and how the world will improve and so on and so forth. But then we go to our next chapter when he all of a sudden starts to talk not now about the entire world, but our inner world. And what is interesting is that he makes this pointing. I don't remember if he says it like that, but it is almost as if he's saying, well, to improve the entire world because of everything that's going on, you need to improve yourself inside of yourself. You need to improve your own inner world. So what he asks in the very beginning of the chapter is, he says, we need workers who wish to join the evangelical school of selflessness. So forget about yourself. We need people, we need spirits who are interested in helping others. We need people who are interested in improving themselves, to get out of themselves and help others. And here he will talk about, like we were saying, these spirits who had problems and difficulties in mediumship. He will talk a little and more specifically here, and I remember that maybe we made this comment a while ago when in the first book we are basically in Nos Solar, and we basically don't talk about spiritism itself because Andre is not a spiritist. When he gets to Nos Solar, he doesn't know basically nothing about spiritism, so we only hear the word spiritism other than what Emmanuel says in the very beginning of the book. We see Andre talking about spiritism at the end of Nos Solar, but here in this book, we almost from the beginning we start hearing and reading about spiritism at all times, and more specifically about mediumship. So this chapter, Telesforo is telling us, hey, look, the earth is a place of work, and it's a place of work, of renewal work, right? And it's not just a place where everybody will fall and everybody will cry, everybody will complain, and it's a sad place. No, we have our problems there, we have our difficulties, but if we are set out to work, and if we work, we will be able to unfortunately, there's a lot of us who prefer to deviate in sexuality, to deviate in laziness, in vanity. And so instead of using the knowledge for ourselves, we use the knowledge to try to teach to others or to try to impose the knowledge to other people. And that's where we fall all the time. And I don't know if you want to add something to this, Francisca.
Yeah.
But then basically that's where he ends and moves on.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to, like one little quote from the end of the book when they say, after the lecture they are allowed to talk. And they are supposed to observe what's going on in the messenger center. And Vicente explains to Andre and says, our guide, he's talking about Aniceto, considers all healthy conversation to be useful work that enriches our learning and aptitudes for service. Thus, when we engage in spiritually constructive conversation, we receive the remuneration due for regular work. And this is a concept that's really important for us here on earth as well, because sometimes we think, oh, well, if it's not paid work, then it's no work. No. And that's why I say we need to attend not only to our material needs, but to our spiritual needs as well. So if we go to a spiritual center, if we listen to a talk, if we have like these constructive conversations that we have on a regular basis or over the phone as well, it is considered work because we are doing something, we are enriching ourselves with learning, we are learning from each other, we are getting motivated to and inspired to serve more and to become better. So this just as a quick interlude here. But then we, like you mentioned already, we start to learn more about individual mediums who share their experience. And the first one in chapter 7 is Ottavio and Ottavio's downfall. So he prepared for 30 years, that's interesting, and reincarnated in a healthy body. And his mission was mediumship to console others, to help and console others. He should be single. That's interesting that not everybody is supposed to marry. And he should help 6 spirit friends who helped him a lot in Nosolar before his reincarnation. So this was his plan. It's a bit unusual if you want to say it like that. But when he was about 19 years old, so in his youth, he started to abuse his faculties. And he started to get involved with a woman which he wasn't supposed to. And so then the question is, where do the 6 spirits come in? And actually, they would be orphans. He was greatly indebted to the spirits, but taking care of these 6 orphans would be his shield, so to speak, his protection from succumbing to degrading ideas regarding sex and unrestrained ambition. So that was the idea. And what happened was that his mother discarnated when he was 13, and his father remarried, and he had a stepmother. And they are the 6 children that he was supposed to take care of, because his father then dies when he's 20. And instead of helping his stepmother taking care of these unfortunate children who were orphans now, he abandoned everyone, because the desire that he felt for sex, for living his life with like he seemed right, were stronger than his commitment and his responsibility of the duty that he had taken on, because they 6 spirits, they helped him a lot while he was discarnate. But now he forgot everything, and then his downfall happened because he got involved with a woman and got married, had a son with her, and just went down, consuming alcohol, financial problems, and only got 40 years old and died of syphilis.
Yeah, with all these problems, and as we were just mentioning from Telesphore, right? He just said, look, we are here looking for people in the evangelical school of selflessness, and then that's basically what we lack all the time, right? We instead of being selfless, we become selfish, right? And then we think only about ourselves, only about what I want, and not about what God wants. And that's basically what he tells us. As you can see, I fulfilled all my damnable desires, but not the will of God. That is why I failed and exacerbated my old debts. So it is all these examples here in this first part are always similar to this, right? It's always about myself. It's always about what I want. It's not about thinking what what life is giving me and showing me as if what I need to do, but it's what I want to do. So that's basically how most of the times, and we can see through these examples how we fail. We fail on these matters, and it is natural that we need to think about our mistakes. We need to think about the things that we did wrongly, but we should not stick to those mistakes and then just be there sitting lamenting what I did. No, we need to I made the mistake. I know that's going to be tough on me later on, but let's keep learning. Let's not do it again. So
yeah, Mackenzie, that's right. And I just want to point out that everybody received lots of help from the spiritual world as well. That when they talk about Ottavio, Arcelino's strategy, listening to impressions, they always say that they had help from the spiritual world, that the good spirits told them, keep on track, that it wasn't that they didn't have any warnings or any alerts for them to stay on their pathway. No. But everybody had their own excuse, the ones who were mediums, I'm saying. And in chapter 9, listening to impressions, and chapter 10, Joel's experience, we have all these kinds of excuses. Oh, my family didn't let me, or I was afraid, or this or that. So it's just for us to pay attention. What is happening in our lives? What are our, so to speak, excuses not to do the constructive work, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's how these chapters are very important for us to read and read and read again, especially if we are working at a spiritist center, be it with mediumship or not with mediumship, be it with giving talks or be it with cleaning the floors, because we are all there being helped at all times, but we need to fulfill what we chose to do. Because if we are there, we are probably if we are workers at a spiritist center or a church, we are probably there because we chose to be there. And if we chose to be there, it is our mission, it is our task, it is our duty. And unfortunately, most of the times, as all these stories that we see in these the latest part of these chapters on this first part of the book up to chapter 13, it's always the same. Like Francisca was saying, it's always something that I needed to do. I had the chance to do. I had the help. Everybody knew it would be hard, but if we fail, it's our mistake. It's because we didn't push ourselves enough. And that's basically what it is. Once again, like Telesphore said, it's the evangelical school of selflessness. It's not the evangelical school of selfishness. So we all need to learn more and more to be selfless. Just like Bellarmino, the instructor, which will come at chapter 11, will be the same, right? He was one to talk to other people, to give lectures. And then once again, just like Arcelino, just like Ottavio, they all fell for one reason or another, but most of them basically because of the same thing, selfishness instead of selflessness, which leads us again to another example on Montero's account, talking about himself, He had this spiritual understanding, spiritual enlightenment of other people, and once again, he fell because he wasn't able to have patience, to practice what he was preaching, and then he abused everything that he needed to do.
Yeah.
And we come out to the end of this first part of the messages with chapter 13, when we're gonna listen a little bit on Vicente, on what Vicente wants to tell us to finalize this first part of the messages, right, Francisca?
Yeah, that's right. I just want to go back one second to Montero's account, because he says, I was blind. I couldn't see that earthly existence in and of itself is an ongoing spiritual session. Because he tried to, make spiritism his way, so to speak. And he changed a lot of things, and he got in trouble because of that. So, and I think it's beautiful for us as we come to the end of this program as well. Life in itself, earthly existence, is an ongoing spiritual session. So there is no holiday, for us to say, oh, now I can, relax. It's an ongoing process. It doesn't matter if we're in the spiritual center, if we're at work, if we're at home with our families, our conduct is what counts. And he also says, how can one teach without setting an example, or guide without showing love? And that summarizes it as well. It doesn't matter in which role we are, if we have mediumship, if we are working as an instructor, if we are a father, a mother, wherever we are always messengers of God.
Yeah, that's true. There's, like you said, there's no vacation from being selfless. We cannot go, I'm going to choose to be selfish today, and then I'm going to be selfless tomorrow and selfish the other day, right? If we are really planning on to become a better person, is this the effort to be humble, to be selfless every second of our lives.
That's true. And in Vicente's reflections, we come to the conclusion once again that what is important is mediumship with Jesus, or a life with Jesus. Jesus as our guide and model, as we learn in the Spirit's book. He provided help to the body and ministered faith to the soul. So we always have at least these two main aspects to take care of ourselves. Not only the material, the body, which is really important, but also the soul, the faith, our view on life, the hope, the consolation we get by the spiritual truth, which we know and which we study in great detail here about the life in the spirit world. And I've got another quote here which I find really, really good, for some more nuggets for us to keep on thinking and reflecting for the next week. The thought of a job well done, Andre, even when everyone is against us, a strong light by day and a pleasant pillow at night.
A pleasant pillow at night.
No.
It is awesome. So it is wonderful that we reached the end of this first part, and we were reminded by Vicente about what Jesus teaches us as well. And I'm just gonna finalize my participation here, Francisca, so we can close out our program tonight. Talking about just reading two other quotes by Vicente here, when he says that Jesus was not only the master but a doctor as well, right? So, but and then he goes on. He said he set the standard of healing for the kingdom of God. He provided help to the body and ministered faith to the soul, just like you said. And then Andre says, "Oh, I never thought of Jesus that way." Right? He cured the bodies, but he also revived the sick, gave them new hope, and invited them to bask in the sublime understanding of life eternal. And hopefully that's what we are getting from this book, and hopefully that's what everybody that is following us here is getting from this study, because we don't want people just to get healed from the sickness of the bodies. We really want ourselves to learn how to get better in our spiritual bodies, our mental bodies, and our lives, as we understand that we will and we are all already living forever.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you so much, Mackenzie, for making this conversation happen for us. And I'm very much looking forward to the second part, which we're going to stream next week, where we talk about more about the messengers and the summary of this book, of the second part of the book. And stay tuned with us, because for sure there's going to be so much more for us to learn. As for now, we wish you all a great week with many blessings, and let's reflect together on the things we've learned tonight. Have a great week, everyone. Until next time.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.